On April 5, 1933, President Franklin D. Roosevelt signed Executive Order 61002. With the stroke of a pen, owning gold became a federal crime in the United States. Every American citizen was ordered to surrender their gold coins, bullion, and certificates to the Federal Reserve. Refusal meant facing up to 10 years in prison and fines equivalent to $200,000 today. The government paid $20.67 per ounce for the gold it took. Then, just 9 months later, it revalued gold to $35 an ounce. In a single year, the government effectively stole 41% of the purchasing power from every American who obeyed the law. This isn't ancient history. It happened within living memory. And the conditions that made it possible are forming again right now. The national debt has skyrocketed. Interest payments are astronomical. The dollar's status as the world's reserve currency is cracking, and central banks globally are hoarding gold at the fastest rate in over half a century. The pattern that led to Executive Order 6102 is repeating. When this pattern completes, another gold confiscation won't just be possible. It could become inevitable. By the end of this video, you'll understand why the government confiscated gold before, what conditions are recreating that scenario now, and what you need to know before the window of opportunity closes. Welcome to Dark Finance File. Let me share something most financial advisors won't admit. Governments don't confiscate gold because they're evil. They confiscate gold because they become desperate, and desperation follows a predictable pattern. In the years before 1933, the United States was running massive deficits. The debt-to-GDP ratio was exploding. Confidence in the currency was collapsing, and citizens were withdrawing gold from banks at an alarming rate. The government faced a stark choice: default on its debts, or seize private wealth to save the system. They chose seizure. Today, the parallels are chilling. The U.S. debt-to-GDP ratio is at 124%. In 1933, it was 44%. We're nearly 3 times worse off. The federal deficit is running at $2 trillion per year. Interest payments alone consume more than the entire defense budget. Foreign central banks are dumping U.S. Treasury bonds and buying gold. China has slashed its Treasury holdings by $500 billion since 2013, while adding over 2,000 tons of gold to its reserves. The dollar's share of global reserves has plummeted from 71% in 2000 to just 58% today, and the decline is accelerating. And here's the part that should truly concern you. The Federal Reserve still holds over 8,000 tons of gold in its vaults. Much of this is the very gold confiscated back in 1933, never returned to the American people. That gold gives the government a template, a playbook that has worked before. When the next major crisis hits and their desperation peaks, they will likely use that same playbook again. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell to stay informed. Before I show you the hidden pattern, let me show you the data that makes confiscation not just possible, but mathematically necessary. Start with the debt. The total federal debt is a staggering $38.5 trillion. And it's growing at a rate of $1 trillion every 100 days. That's 8 million every single minute. The interest payments alone are now over $1.1 trillion a year. More than we spend on Medicare, more than we spend on defense. By 2030, those interest payments will hit $1.7 trillion a year. The debt is compounding faster than our economy can possibly grow. Now, what backs this debt? The dollar has lost 97% of its value since the Federal Reserve was created in 1913. It's lost 25% of its value just since 2020. Foreign central banks are noticing. They're dumping U.S. debt and buying gold at a record pace. China, Russia, India, Turkey, they're all converting their dollars to gold because they know something is coming. Meanwhile, privately held gold in the U.S. is estimated at $2.5 trillion. When the crisis hits, and the government is desperate, that $2.5 trillion becomes a very tempting target, just like it was in 1933. There's a predictable sequence that precedes every gold confiscation in modern history. I call it the 5 stages of currency collapse. Stage 1. The government prints massive amounts of money it can't afford. Stage 2. This printing causes currency devaluation, and people start buying gold to protect their wealth. Stage 3. The smart money and institutions see the writing on the wall and start moving their assets into hard assets like gold. Stage 4. The government gets desperate. Tax revenue drops, debt costs explode, and they realize they need hard assets to restore credibility. Stage 5. Confiscation. With no other options, they make private gold ownership illegal and force citizens to trade their real money for worthless paper. This isn't a theory. It has happened over and over again. Look at the US in 1933. After the 1929 crash, Americans rushed to exchange their dollars for gold. The government was losing control and couldn't print more money. So what did they do? On April 5, 1933, President Roosevelt issued Executive Order 6102. It forced every American to surrender their gold or face a massive fine and 10 years in prison. Citizens traded their gold for $20.67 an ounce. Then, just a few months later, the government reset the price of gold to $35 an ounce, devaluing the dollar by 41% overnight. They took the people's wealth and used it to fund their agenda. The template was set. Right now, we are deep into Stage 3, and the signs of Stage 4 are all around us. The question isn't if history will repeat itself, but when. Stay informed, and thanks for watching. Thinking about protecting your wealth? I know the objections. This is America. Gold confiscation could never happen here. But it already did. In 1933, the U.S. government seized private gold, making it a crime to own, and then slashed the dollar's value by 41%. This isn't a theory, it's a historical fact. But that was under the gold standard. True, and that makes today's situation even more precarious. Back then, they needed gold to print more money. Today, when the current system hits its limit, they'll need gold to restore trust in a new currency. Gold is the reset button, and to press it, they need to have the gold. People wouldn't comply today. Most people complied in 1933, and history suggests most would comply again. Imagine severe penalties, frozen safe deposit boxes, and digital tracking that makes hiding wealth almost impossible. The government is already building the surveillance infrastructure. They're not just printing money. They're preparing for the day printing isn't enough. Every major currency reset in history has involved gold, and American citizens are sitting on trillions of dollars worth. So, what do? First, diversify. Gold is a target. Consider silver, platinum, or even mining stocks, which are harder to seize than physical bars. Don't put all your eggs in the one basket the government has a history of taking. Second, think globally. The U.S. government can't confiscate assets it can't reach. Holding wealth in secure foreign jurisdictions isn't about tax evasion. It's about asset preservation, a strategy the wealthy have used for centuries. Third, use legal structures. Assets held in certain retirement accounts or business entities have different protections than personal holdings. Understanding these nuances now is critical. The biggest mistake is thinking you have plenty of time. In 1933, people ignored the warning signs, bank runs, currency instability, until the executive order was signed. By then, it was too late. Today, the signs are back. Skyrocketing debt, a weakening dollar, and central banks stockpiling gold. The window to prepare is open now, but it won't be open forever. When the crisis hits, the time for preparation is over. Those who acted early will protect their future. Those who waited will fund it. The choice is yours. Thanks for watching. Based on the 5 stages of currency collapse, here's what to expect. In the next 2 to 5 years, Stage 3 intensifies. Capital flight accelerates, and gold prices rise as institutions and central banks keep buying. Reporting requirements will expand, letting the government track precious metals transactions with increasing precision. In the next 5 to 10 years, Stage 4 becomes undeniable. The debt crisis will force hard policy choices. Wealth taxes will be proposed, and retirement account restrictions will be implemented, setting the stage for more dramatic measures. If the pattern completes, Stage 5 arrives when the crisis peaks: a market crash, a currency crisis, a sovereign debt failure. That's the catalyst for emergency powers. And when that moment comes, the executive order will be ready for a signature. Will you be prepared? If this showed you something the media won't admit, subscribe to Dark Finance File now and hit the notification bell.